to the Mindbender Mental Performance Podcast.
Welcome back to the Mindbender Mental Performance Podcast. I'm Kowalski. This is the world's only podcast that former Los Mochis and Tigres del Licey baseball great and Dominican League MVP says Kowalski makes players fuerza en la cabeza. El lugar es aquí, el momento es ahora. Wherever you are, the place is here. The time is now. Showing up, being present, and setting yourself up for success by being here, being where your feet are. You're going to learn the drills and the skills that help people who play sports at an elite level overcome mental and oftentimes emotional barriers to consistent and confident performance execution. Yes, the legit Don Mattingly upper lipper is still in full effect. Today, we're diving into a real fucking classic, boys and girls. I'm talking about the great Ken Revizza in his book, Heads Up Baseball. This is the playbook for mental toughness on the diamond. Hell, and in life, if you're a player, if you're a coach, if you're a fan, a parent who wants to understand what separates the guys who execute under pressure from the guys who fold, this episode's for you. If you're not familiar with Revizza, it's probably the first time you've ever listened to this podcast. You know, he is not your typical rah-rah motivational guy. He doesn't give you some half-baked inspiration shit about stuff that makes you feel good for 5 minutes and then leaves you hanging. No. This guy gets into the dirt. He gets into the grass with you, whether you're a dirt or a grass guy. Are you an infield or outfield? Right? He gets into it with you. He meets you where you are, in your failures, in the struggles, in the moments where we can't seem to get out of our own fucking way. They say the game is simple. We make it hard because we got so much crap floating around in our heads. Stuff like worry and self-doubt and fear and tension and regret and low-grade anxiety and damaging discontent and itchy irritability. Oh! Control what you can control, let go of what you can't. We're going to break down the core principles today from the book Heads Up Baseball. But before we dive in, let me just say this again. If you're listening to this and you're convinced that mental performance is just about staying positive or thinking happy thoughts, you're wrong. And Ken Revizza himself would be the first guy to tell you right to your face that is false. This is about taking control of your preparation, taking control of your process. And sometimes that means accepting that you're going to fuck up and learning how to keep playing your game anyway, staying on your mission. Let's talk about controlling the controllables. What I think is the absolute cornerstone of Heads Up Baseball, controlling the controllables. If you've ever played the game, you know there's so much outside of our control. The weather, the playing surface, the lineup, ERA, batting average, outcome, winning. We've gone over this multiple times. So, umpires are going to make bad calls. Your body might feel like shit some days in the Groundhog Day Sisyphus role that we love of a ball player. But the one thing you always have control over, your response. In the book, Revizza hammers home that baseball, as we all know, is a game of failure. Maybe it's a game of misguided information as well, because a lot of guys are putting goals and their process into things that they cannot control, like ERA, like batting average, like getting a hit, like winning. So it's not about avoiding failure. It's about how we respond to it, because we have very little control about what goes on around us, but total control on how we choose to respond. You can't control whether you get a strikeout, but you can control your breath. You can control your pre-pitch routine. You can control your at-bat starting in the 4 hole 4 hitters away. If you're a pitcher, you can control how you have a system of preparation pregame from the bullpen, pre-inning, pre-batter, pre-pitch. Do you have a signal light release? We'll get into it. That's what we call getting present. If you let your last at bat or that error in the field or that non-executed pitch creep into your mind while you're standing in the box or you're on top of the bump, you're done. You got to flush that shit. Next pitch, next moment, next fucking play. And a good release statement, what, so what, now what? Meaning what? What happened? What's the truth here? So what? Meaning what's in my control and what's out of my control. Okay, so what? That's outside of my control. And then now what? If you want to win, what's important now? Release statement. Don't hand over the power. It's not, this isn't just some mental gymnastics. It's about being fucking relentless in what you can control. Your ape, your appearance, your attitude, your preparation, because the separation's in the preparation, your performance, not the result of how you perform, but how you perform, and your energy and your effort. Those are yours. I tell the guys that I work with, don't hand over your power to the things that you can't control. If you're playing the blame game with the umpire or the fucking wind or your girlfriend in the crowd or whatever, you've already lost the battle. So remember that routines are our anchors. This is where Revizza really shines. And this is how he's helped out so many big leaguers along the way. You've heard this from me before. And Ken's the one who embedded this in me in the mental game, along with Ichabod Kane himself. And of course, the great Enrique Byroness. And the great Gallstar, John Gallstar, and the great Troy Gloss, and the great Josh Weitzel, and so many other guys along the way who have had an impact in my journey. The great Johnny Wolfman Gomes, double champ. So it's really Ken's the one who embedded this in me, the mental game culture of baseball. Routines are the anchor in the chaos. Everybody's facing the same winds like we talked about yesterday. Don't wish for different winds. Wish to set a better sail. So in Heads Up Baseball, Ken talks a lot about how you can't control whether or not you feel anxious or whether or not you're nervous before a big game. But what you can do is lean into your routine to ground you, to get calm, to get centered, to get focused, to get present. And then do you have a mental imagery audio that you go through? We like to use ball, where we do breathing, body scan, affirmations, or signs of success, looking back at our best performances and then looking ahead. That's a pregame routine that can help you lock in and see yourself performing at your best. And things happen twice, first in our mind, then in reality. So if we can see ourselves performing at our best, it's very likely that we will perform better in reality. Every great player has a moment where they take a breath, adjust themselves, step back in the box, and reset. Routines give you something to do when you're about to lose your shit, when the adversity comes. Are you going to make adversity your advantage? Do you have a series of steps that you can go to release it, let it go, flush it, and bring you back to the next moment? Do you have a physical action, a breath on a focal point? We suggest a left field foul pole, let it go. And then a verbal trigger, this pitch. Breathe, let it eat, this pitch. See ball, be easy, hammer it. So make sure you have things that you go to, a routine, a series of steps, a physical action as a hitter of stepping out of the box. There it is. Stepping out of the box, adjusting the batting gloves, physical action, strap off, releasing the last pitch, strap them back on, getting dialed in for this pitch, left field foul pole, let it go. Come back here, breath on the barrel. Now I get into the box, see ball, be easy, hammer it. This pitch. That's a series of steps. Sometimes the game can speed up on us. In order to slow the game down, we first have to slow ourselves down. In order to be in control of our performance, we first must be in control of ourselves. And that comes down to performance breath. That comes down to controllables. That comes down to routines. Your routine's got to be automatic. Like if I walk up and ask you your birthday or your phone number, pow, that's how quickly I got to go, hey man, what's your at-bat routine? Boom. Starts on deck. No, what if your teammate has a one pitch AB and now your whole routine is rushed? Starts 4 hitters away. What's your 2-strike approach? What's your pregame, in-game, post-game routine? What's your daily routine? How do you measure? So it got to be automatic. The thing is, you can't just rely on your routine when you're feeling off. And remember, when you put the uni on, feel ain't real anymore. You got to act differently than you feel. You have to choose confidence even when you don't feel confident. And you're not that bad that you got to feel good to play fucking great. So when you're feeling off, you have to stick to that routine every time. When things are going well, same thing. Stick to the routine. Non-executed pitch, executed pitch, non-executed game, executed game, same routine. Rinse, repeat, reflect, refocus. I'll tell you right now, it's easy to stay locked in when you're, crushing it, when you're hitting pumps and you're hitting piss missiles all over the field, when you're throwing Skittles on the bump, when you're knocking pockets. The challenge is when you're 0 for 3 or you're walk the bases loaded. That's when you need to trust the routine more than ever. The present moment is everything. One of my favorite sections of the book Heads Up Baseball is playing in the present moment. Baseball, I think more than any other sport, fucks with your head. It's a long ass season. You're going to get in slumps. You're going to question your swing, your mechanics, your worth as a fucking human being if you don't know how to separate who and do. Separate who you are as an elite level player or person rather, and what you do as an elite level player. Separating who and do. The person from the player. So yeah, that's going to happen. Right? Revizza always talked about focus on the next pitch. Always. That's your job. Execute the next pitch. Play the game one pitch at a time. Is this line in the book that I love? If you're not in the present moment, you're not playing baseball. Boom. That's it. You're either locked into the game, focusing on what's in front of you right now, or you're daydreaming in La La Land, right? You got Tweety birds floating around in your head, right? You're wondering about what could go wrong or stewing on the previous pitch. Now you're trying to play 2 pitches at once. Like you're trying to field 3 balls. You're trying to hit 3 balls. You're trying to throw 3 balls at once. You can't do it. But if you're hanging on to the previous pitches, that's what you're doing. So if that's what you're doing, trust me, boys, that's when the game is going to chew you up and spit you out. Like all the new flavors of seeds they got. I don't know. I can't keep up anymore. Ken emphasizes that being in the present means accepting that the game is bigger than you. Don't try to be the best player on the team. Try to be the best player for the team. You're not going to be perfect. Nobody is. And even trying to be perfect is setting yourself up for failure. Just trying to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday. And comparing myself to who I was yesterday, not to who somebody else is today. You got to learn how to trust the work you've put in. Breathe. Stop searching. Start trusting. No expectation, only execution. No comparing, only competing. And the outcome will take care of itself if you stay in the moment. Own your shit. Last big piece of Revizza's Heads Up Baseball, and I love this, is owning your shit. There's a reason I work with guys on defining their mission, their vision, their principles, their above and below the line behaviors in different categories, like their personal life, like their training, and then when they're on the baseball field. So if you don't know who you are as a person and player and what you stand for, you're going to get rocked when things go sideways. You've got to own your mistakes, your successes, and everything in between. It's all about accountability. It's all about ownership. Things get better when you get better. So I think Revizza teaches us, he's got this no nonsense approach, and he knew, and I look up to this guy so much. He just knew how to break it down in a real way, and build relationships that led to leadership, that led to championships. But ultimately, you've got to be accountable. You're your best coach. If you make an error or blow an at bat, own it. Don't bullshit your teammates. Don't bullshit yourself. If you go 0 for 4 and they're not quabs, if they're not quality ABs, don't say the ump fucked you or the pitcher was throwing, hush puppies up there. Be real with yourself. You didn't execute. Maybe you didn't prepare your best to perform your best, and that's all right because that's part of the game, that's part of life. But until you take ownership of your performance, you ain't going to grow. This isn't just about making yourself feel better, it's about earning respect from your teammates, for yourself, from your coaches. I get it. Baseball is a tough game, but tough times don't last. Tough people do. Ken knew, but the mental game isn't about stepping up and saying, yeah, I fucked up today, but I'll be better tomorrow. Right? The best in the world have coaches. If you want to dive deeper and figure out the drills and skills and the system and the steps that many big leaguers use in our program, many great teams that have dogpiled in Omaha, hit me up and we can break it down deeper. That's the breakdown today of Revizza's Heads Up Baseball. If you don't have the book, what the hell are you waiting for? Go get it. You know, you can go to a local bookstore and get it for nothing probably in one of these locals only bookstores. Try there first before you get it from Bezos. Revizza was a pioneer in the mental game, and his lessons, man, they go way beyond baseball. This stuff will make you not just a better player, but a better person. And personal development comes before professional development if you're willing to do the work. So control the controllables, lean on your routines, play in the present, own your shit. That's the mental game in a nutshell. The other 20%, who knows? I got to meet you to figure that out. But that's 80%. Until next time, remember, if you want to be a disciplined, committed, and prepared ball player in the future, you start that shit today. It fucking takes what it takes, and the best is yet to come. Para mis jugadores latinos, más línea y más vida. Hasta la próxima. Recuerdo, si quieres ser un jugador disciplinado, comprometido y preparado en la futura, empiezas esa mierda hoy. Se necesita lo que se necesita y lo mejor está por venir.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.